Tonight, we're making zines, baby. You never know what you're going to get here on the daily Hobbynomicon hobby vlog because I never know what I'm going to feel like doing every day. But I guarantee you it's not going to be working on the same painting project in back-to-back days. So today, this is not going to be a video about doing the actual graphical layout. Everything I'm putting together today is actually from Castle Grief, the great and fabulous and wonderful creator of Calarrath, as well as a ton of kind of like OSR, but I would even go farther back and say like white box original D&D inspired things. I'm very excited to play these. I am getting my things ready. Let me show you. So I'm using, this is a scoring board is what this is called. And I make a mistake here, definitely on purpose, to show you that if you accidentally line up your scores and don't fold it right, that's okay. You just unfold it and score it again and pretend the first one didn't happen. And there's a little bit of cat feetsies, but this thing has a ridge at the top. You just push your paper up against the ridge. You remember that you need to put the score at 5.5 inches and not 5.25 inches, and that works. The reason you score it is because it makes folding so much easier. Like, you might think that you're just going to fold it in half and then slide something hard down the edge and it'll be good. But I thought that, and I actually used to make and sell a ton of notebooks and other people's zines and make my own zines. Pre-COVID, COVID actually killed the business for me, but I was making a ton of, like, I don't know, that's a whole other tangent, but I was making a ton. Man, when you have to make like 100 a day of these things by hand because you're a fool and can't afford a folder and a stapler and a binder, trust me, if you want to make a bunch of zines, definitely get a scoring board, because I'm going kind of slow here because I don't want to wake anybody up. But you can, once you get in the zone, and there's also like, you just slot a ruler in so you can line your edge up against your ruler and just go. Scoring is so much faster, and it actually makes binding so much easier when we get to that step, because it doesn't just, when you fold it over like I'm doing right here, it makes a crease in the paper and folds the paper, duh. But when you use that little scoring knife in the groove, it makes a millimeter impression in the paper. So one, it compresses the material of the page, so it makes it so it's less likely to tear, because it keeps a little bit more structural or integrity. At least it sure seems like it does. And it makes it so all the pages want to fold instead of fighting against the fold. So trust me, it makes a huge difference. So I'm going to go through, score all my pages. And when it comes to printing, like, it depends on the file. It depends on your printer. If you're lucky, sometimes you can take a PDF and just print it as booklet and it works. But sometimes you have to lay it out yourself. And then in the future, when I make my own zine from scratch, I'll definitely go through all that. But this is how you would pimp out, or not pimp out, how you would pimp somebody else's layouts to actually print them and put them in a zine and have them look good. And I think I'm going to bust out like 5 of these boys tonight. So it's very simple. Get a scoring board. They're very cheap on Amazon if you want to go that route. I don't have an affiliate link. I'm not going to have an affiliate link. Just Google scoring board. I don't want to give Amazon any more money, but it is where I got mine. It was before I decided to kick Amazon out of my life. But what's crazy is if you decide to kick Amazon out, everybody just ships through Amazon anyway, so it doesn't even matter. But anyway, this is the other very important part. It's called a saddle stitcher. And again, this is overkill if you're not going to do a bunch of these, but if you want to print a bunch of zines, definitely get one. And I actually have one that's even bigger and more robust than this. But what I do is you push down just a little bit to pierce the paper with a staple, and then you really just go for it. You give it all you got in one swift push, and that really prevents like the pages unaligning or the staple not moving. And you can see when I have that one hand on it, I push it down to puncture the first couple of pages, and then I really just kind of blast it, and it stays aligned. It works well. It is awesome. And the way that I used to like spend the time to binder clip the pages together so they wouldn't shift and all those other things, you don't need to do that. You just use your fingernail and slide up the pages, and that's, you like to align them, and you use your fingers and you go With these 2 staples, you just go 3 fingers down from the top, 3 fingers up from the bottom, and you call it a day. And this little thing here has a paper cutter on it. I hadn't ever actually used it, and I figured I'd give it a shot, but it's terrible. So don't do it that way. What you want to do, again, if you don't care, just fold it and put something heavy on it, and don't cut the edges. But you can also make a little tiny book press out of 2 pieces of wood and 2 long bolts. And what I'll do is I'll slip all these into my makeshift book press, and then I have like an industrial paper slicer, and it's actually like a guillotine press. It's not, you don't pull it down in a curve motion. It's a straight down motion of the blade. That's way too many details for you. But what that does is it makes sure all the pages are actually aligned when they're folded. So I gotta let them sit overnight, so I can't do that right now to show you. But I'll probably show you in the coming days when I actually cut it, because this paper cutter sucks. But it's great for the scoring part. But as you can see, like this is fresh off the printer earlier today, and because I scored it, it's already like good enough. Like if you just wanted to start playing and reading, like you don't have to do all that paper press stuff. And I probably won't actually, now that I'm even thinking about it. Okay, so this is the thing I was talking about, right? 3 fingers from I'm stapling this one 3 times. So 2 fingers from the top, then 3 fingers from the first staple, and then that's my center point. And then another 3 fingers, and it ends up 2 fingers away from the bottom. Is how, I don't know if everybody's fingers are probably not the same width, so you got to figure out what works for you. But that's how you don't have to actually get a ruler out and measure. And again, you can bust through them. I did 3 staples here because this one, I think it's close to 30 pages, which is like 15 sheets of paper. And then this one's only a bifold. So dog ran into the camera there, almost lost it. So boom, I banged all 5 of these out, including print time, in 30 minutes of work tonight. Very simple. With the stapler, get the saddle stitch stapler. It's called a Bostitch saddle stitch stapler. I got this one at Walmart in store. And again, this is a scoring board. It's pretty, a couple years old. There's probably different ones. I think you can get them at Michael's or like Hobby Lobby probably. And now this right here, this is, if you guys remember, way back when I dyed all those covers, and I like hand marbled them for my wife's poetry book, where we forgot to print one and do one for herself to actually keep. So that's what I'm doing now. This thing here is a jig to punch book binding holes. So if you were to make, like I used to make my own sketchbooks and like Coptic binding, because that way they'll lay flat. And this thing is a lifesaver because you work in signatures. So like a single sketchbook or for me, it was watercolor books. You have like 4 or 5 or 6 signatures. So you have to make a ton of zines essentially to make one book. So what this does is it aligns your pages so you can just bust your holes out really fast. And it comes with a little awl tool, but the awl tool is not very good. So I just use my sail needle and a rock and just bang right through them all. Normally with a book this size, you'd only have to do 3 holes, but I'm doing 5 because it's for my wife, so I'm flexing on her. But now I have my sail needle, my wax thread. Again, you don't have to use wax thread. I just know that this thread is archival proof. That's why I got it. It's from Maine Thread Company. And this part's pretty easy. It's harder to get the thread through the needle than it is to stitch this book binding. But you start in the middle, and then you go you can go up to the top, or you can go down to the bottom. Either way, you need about 3 times the width of your book or signature itself. And I'm using a pair of pliers because I should have punched my holes a little bit bigger. So I'm just being very careful here not to tear it. Using my multi-tool just to pull it up through carefully, and just to making that holes. I'll make all the holes a little bit larger, so this is easier to do. So again, like I said, you go up through the top, then you go back down, using my trusty rock to push it through. This is a purpose. What am I looking for? I put a notch in this rock so that needle sets right into it. It is a purpose-driven rock. It's not just any rock. It's a special rock. So like I said, you go up in one direction and then back down, and then that completes your stitches. and then you go down to the other direction, loop around, and you meet back in the middle. So I'll speed this up, but you can see you get a stitch on one side, and then when you loop around and come back through, it stitches the other side. It's pretty straightforward. It's very hard to mess up. You go in one end, out the other, and then in this bottom part right here, when you loop back through, you just go right back up, and it catches all of the gaps. The only thing you have to look out for is this is very thick thread. If you were just using like normal thread, you wouldn't have to worry about this. But for me, I could actually pierce the middle of the thread bundle. You don't want to do that. You want to make sure you're keeping your thread intact and not going through yourself. And then you meet up with these two ends at the middle. So what I do, I'll push this end through the book, and then I'll just cut the back side of it. And I just get a lighter hot and push it in and melt the back of the wax because I'm using wax thread. But on the inside, I know how to tie knots. I don't know what they're called. I think this is a box knot, but I tighten it down, and then I tie a knot in here so that it's not going to loosen up on itself. And really with this thread, and I stitch it so many times, it's not going to loosen up anyway. Like I probably didn't even have to tie it, but just a little knot. Then I give it a good old snip with the baby scissors, and we're good to go. And now this, I will go back through and I'll put in the book press, and I will trim the edges off and make it very nice. And then I have a little stamp to go in the middle. But if you're still here, thanks for watching. Go watch my video on how I actually dyed and marbled those color covers. See you tomorrow.